Good evening, St. Lucia, for those of you here on island, those of you in the diaspora and the wider world. Thank you so much for tuning in to the National Television Network NTN. I'm Mr. Joseph. As always, it is the morning update with Lucia and her. And this morning we'll be taking you through lots of information. We have members of the National Consumers Association, the NCA, with us, and we'll be discussing recent developments with the passage of the Consumer Protection Bill, which the organization has been lobbying for many years. We'll be hearing from the members on that and what it means for you as a consumer. And also we will be going through what the new protocols are and came from an overnight statistic of 18 COVID-19 deaths, 1 COVID-19 related, 17 COVID-19 deaths, and 3 cases. New cases being registered. So we will be hearing on what the protocols are for the next 2 weeks. We'll also be hearing from the Chief Medical Officer as well as the Director of the Respiratory Hospital. That's coming on a little later on in the program. But first, let me say good morning to Homer.
Good morning, Lisa. Thank you so much. Of course, shout out to all of you watching on our Facebook and YouTube channels or on channel 122. It's so good to be able to finally have the conversation with the National Consumer Association, because for the long while, I think I've been hearing about the National Consumer Association, and with the recent passing of the bill, understanding the work that they've actually been doing. So it's great to be able to finally have that conversation and to, of course, share with our viewers the work of the National Consumers Association and what this new bill means to them. So again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And Lisa, I'll pass over to you to do the honors.
Yeah, so in studio with us, we have as we on set, smack down in the middle of the two beauties here is Marius Modest, who is the Public Relations Officer for the NCA, and over on the periphery. Are you on the periphery? No, he's not.
To your left.
Never. he's never on the periphery. Anyone who knows Mr. Hubert James knows that. He's the former president for the National Consumers Association and one with a lot of historical background as well. So thank you, gentlemen, for being able to be with us to discuss the Consumer Protection Bill. Let's start with you, but for many years, and I remember starting off in journalism and having so many conversations with you with regards to the National Consumers Association, and one of the sticking points during those years, many years, for maybe 2 decades, I would think.
24 years.
24 years. That one of those sticking points has always been protection for consumers in St. Lucia, and finally we've had this. Talk to us about what the road has been getting here.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you, viewers, for having us there with you this morning. The road has been rough, rigged, boulders and thorns and nails on the road for the travel. Finally, or previously, 2016, we thought we had reached the end of the road. This Labour government, under the Prime Minister of Kenny Anthony, passed this act, it was number 9 of 2016.
Yeah, so
and then he said to the nation at the time that he knows the act is not totally perfect, but he feels that if we go through with the act, and whilst we are implementing it, we will see the first that there's room for amendment. That's how amendment is there for, so we can make the amendments. Eventually, election was in June of 2016, and the AW government came to office. And they did not go with the recommendation by Dr. Kenny Anthony. So they held back the Consumer Protection Act and said they're going to do the amendment one time and just pass it through. It was an agony of 5 years. And every World Consumer Rights Day, you're going to get for World Consumer Rights Day. And it passed, gone and passed, never happened. We keep on putting pressure. And every time we reach the point for us to get it through, an organization will write and say, oh, well, we never knew this thing was taking place, and we see that we need to have discussion. Thing held back. This Minister of Commerce, Ms. Hippolyte, was the one who championed in 2016. And she's the one who championed in 2021 and caused it to pass eventually and finally, except one little step we have to go still, which I hope by next week that's going to be done, is that they have to write to the Ministry of Trade, the AG's office, for them to put the effective date, the commencement date on the act. So as long as that thing is done, we have our artillery, we have our nuclear weapon, we are free to go for it now. Right now, the consumers can stand tall, and no private sector, neither financial institution, the service institution cannot tell them, you cannot do something, cannot do that. Now the Act has given us the power, the Act has made a lot of provisions to be able to have tribunals, to have commissions, to have things, so therefore we have room for redress. And if it is a point where the commissions cannot do it, you have a right to go to the High Court, to the Appeal Court. So you have a wide band of where you can get redress and get justice. But before, they used to have all these signs, no exchange, no refund. These things is no longer in our vocabulary anymore. You go to some people, the consumers will, we understand it was their fault, that we have to look for the public education. They need something from a store, and they give them this hire purchase contract. They don't read it. They just send because they want the thing. And 2 months down the line, they realize that, hey, what did I do? And they want to address it. So now it's going to be done differently. We'll have total disclosure of the transaction you are dealing with the persons. Some of them tell you, oh, well, you didn't see it was the small print. If it is so important, why it is the small print? But intention you have to put the small print. So therefore, this Consumer Protection Act now has opened the way. It will be a public document. People can buy it from the government printery. It will be online, so people can read and understand the rights, understand what they can do and what they cannot do. So no longer this organization can tell you, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. And one of my key concerns is the banks. You go to the bank, and the bank, you said, I would like a mortgage or a loan. The bank tell you, okay, Miss so-and-so, you ask for this $100,000. We have look at your credit worthiness. You'll be able to approve the loan for you. You're going to pay us $20 per month for your capital. You pay us $25 for interest, and what the extra they put on it. So your payment for the month, every month, is going to be, let's say $65. And for 10 years, you sign that. You pay the loan, you never stop, you never reduce the payment. 3 years later, go to the bank and check. Your capital is still the same amount, which you agreed to pay X amount for interest, X for capital, X for whatever it is. And your total amount is X amount. But 3 years later, finally, they go to the bank, and you find that your capital is still the same, it has not moved, and the interest they charge you have been going up, because they're taking all the interest before, which is not right. The interest will tell me I am paying X amount per month for interest and X amount of my capital. So both of these balances should go down simultaneously when I make my payments. But no, you'll see it diverted to that thing, and they tell you there's a clause that said the bank has reserved the right to change the interest. So at the right, going up all the time, you're going to pull it up all the time, but you can't bring it down.
So with this bill and some of the scenarios that you've brought up, the recourse now for members of the public, we spoke about you mentioned the tribunal, but before you get to that point, you would need to be able to have that facilitation to make them official. One of the things that the bill does is to be able to really sort of separate the functions of the Department of Consumer Affairs, the council, well, the NCA. It in there as well, but also for the Consumer Affairs Council, at what point the tribunal is going to come in, and of course the commercial court does have a role in there as well. So for us to be able to find that empowerment, because the bill is supposed to be able to empower individuals, can you walk us through how you see the process working? So someone wanting to make that complaint, where do they go to make that complaint? Do they come through the NCA first, or do they go directly to the council? You have two avenues which you can go through. You can make a complaint to NCA, because that's what it is there for. So hear a complaint of the people, the dissatisfaction, the like and dislikes. Or you can go to the Ministry of Consumer Affairs directly, which is on corner of Miko and Chisel and Crowell Street. So you can go to any of these places where we can hear their complaints, write it down, fill the form, because you will give your form to write your complaints and you don't mistake what you said. And we will analyze it, and you can either send it to Ministry of Commerce, we call them, to the Department of Consumer Affairs, or we deal with it from the directly. We have been dealing a lot of these cases direct through the private sector. When people come with a complaint, we go to the people directly and solve the problem. Sometimes it takes us just about a few minutes, sometimes it takes us a day, sometimes it takes us an hour. It depends who you're dealing with. Some of these are more flexible in how they do things, because some of them don't want their name to be on the media, so therefore they solve the problem very, very fast for you. Some of them have been difficult, they want to show they have the wit, but now they haven't got any more. The consumer has the right. You're selling a product, you must have total disclosure of that product. Let me just take it now. What's the guarantee of that thing? Okay, let's for example, you buy a fan. There's what you call reasonable expectation. If you buy a fan or a pair of shoes, you expect it to last at least 3 months or 6 months. You can buy a pair of shoes, so you go to step outside the store about. So why should you have trouble to either refund or change the shoe? So therefore now the consumer has that right. They have that legal stature behind them, where they can flex the muscles. Not in the wrong direction. If you're wrong, you're wrong. But as long as you're right, you need to exercise that right. And so now the Consumer Association has some teeth, and let's say good morning now
yes,
to...
Man, we have sharpened teeth like sharks.
Like sharks. So let's bring in Marius Modest now as the Public Relations Officer. Marius, does it now make it easier for you to be able to do your own duties as the PRO in terms of being able to galvanize a public, get them more interested in what the consumer rights is all about?
Well, good morning. Lisa, we have never stopped working. Yes, you don't see us, you don't hear us, we operate dance. After we eat up all your house, then you realize that we are there. So, in spite of not seeing us in the media, we have been trying to do what we were supposed to do. It's people that, supposed to support us. That is what is lacking. And we have been trying, but when you see they find themselves in a predicament, they will know where the office is, which is just across the street by Lucia. The organization began in 2000, March to 2002, sorry. And we have had that office open there for a couple of years now. So if people have complaints, they come to us. And as much as possible, former President Hubert would, go to the people directly, or I will go, or some member of the executive will go. I have not had any problems per se going to the business people, wherever the situation is, and get redress for the people that have come to us. But you don't really hear that out there. And those people will always say, you have to come and join us. Ou pas ma association, mais nous ka représenter, ou pour travail nous, c'est pour représenter. Et actuellement, qu'on nous savent, nous ni bilza qui passe 24 l'année nous espérer ça 24 l'année nous espérer pour ça. So actuellement bagay la place ça nous ni pour faire c'est pour aider ces mouna indiquer yo qui ça doit yo et puis les yo brisé représentation yo ka venir noter nous et bien yo ka aller département côté là tout yo ça taper bagay yo adressé important moi toujours ka dit si vous avez un bagay fait assez yo ba en ici. If you're buying something, you must get a receipt. Because a lot of the businesses in town, most of them will be selling the same thing. So if you come to my store and you say, well, Miss I see ya, and they say, well, no, I can't remember you, your receipt will show that you bought the thing there, and then you're entitled to have that content get redressed from the business owner. So we are happy with the passage of that bill. In the first instance, that's always been said, you bring up a bill or Protection Act, it might not be perfect in the world. As you go along, you see where the problem is or where the loopholes are, you close it up. So we are happy that this is done, and in months ahead and the years ahead, we're going to, break it down and make people understand that's where your right is when it's come to that. That is also where the right of the owners and business service providers are, because they expect that if you are wrong, you can't expect to get right. So if you do something wrong or you misuse the product or whatever, at the end of the day, you too have to take.
That's a very good point that you're making in terms of education on the rights of the consumer. Because as much as, I could go to a store and I could feel that I am slighted, in terms of understanding rights as a consumer, where would I start in terms of doing that? So as someone who always goes out to purchase something, I've realized that maybe I do not understand my rights, and I want to take that first step to understand. Store, what exactly are my rights as a consumer? How do I go about learning?
Okay, first of all, we will have, from today, or this afternoon, we're going to start a vigorous public education program.
Okay.
We're going to put up pamphlets, we're going to have, we will organize it to meet with you all on mornings, probably once a week, and to go through this act chapter by chapter.
Okay.
To make sure everybody understands that. We don't want anybody to be in the dark. So when you go through it, you can't tell me, I did not know. You don't want to know.
Right.
So we're going to make sure that at least once a week, one of us will be with you, and we'll take that thing from chapter 1 to the end until we finish it, so everybody will understand. The document will be made available to anybody who wants it, either through online or through hard copies from the government printery or to the library. It's cheaper if you buy it in the library. So you can get it because the library photocopy is cheaper than anywhere else. So you can get it there. You can buy it and have your thing. That's my piece of legislation in my hand. The ministry itself will carry out a public education program also.
Okay.
So we'll collaborate with them first to make sure that the public understand their rights and their responsibilities. It's a philosophy. You can have no right without responsibilities. So whilst you have the right, you have a responsibility to exercise that right when you're supposed to do it. So people will not be left in the dark. You will know, and then you can come to either the Consumer Affairs Department or to the NCA office. We will give the answer. Or we'll even give you material for you to understand what your rights are.
Very nice. And like you mentioned responsibilities, and that's a very good point that you're making, because as much as the act is in place for the protection of the consumer, to empower people to misuse it as well.
No, but that's why you have the institution to make sure the regulator take up your point of technicalities, and we'll make sure the act is properly enforced and implemented.
All right, and in addition to, of course, the public education and drive, what are the next steps for the National Consumer Association in terms of moving forward? Any other plans?
We have, in fact, we submitted the plan to the minister.
Okay.
Which we're going to discuss it, of what we want to do. Personally, I am internationally connected to all the organizations outside there. And I have registered for 6 programs with the little consumer. And I have read through it, and it's going to be very beneficial to us in St. Lucia. And St. Lucia, if we go through it properly, we might be the champion for the Caribbean, because we were the one who were the head of the Caribbean Consumer Council. So St. Lucia was the head, I was the vice president. So therefore, we will reestablish that for CARICOM to ensure that public education programs going through all the Caribbean OCS countries and to CARICOM. So we have that strength, because you have Massey in St. Lucia, Massey in Trinidad, Massey in St. Vincent, Massey in Grenada, Massey in Dominica. So why should the laws of your right be different from each country when you all use the same easy currency? Therefore, the same principle. Why?
So you're looking for a united front or so symmetry.
But even when we on the Caribbean Consumer Council, we're taking a united approach.
Okay.
We may differ while we're arguing, but for analysis, we arrive at the same decisions.
Willing to be able to harmonize everything. I need to ask you, Marius, how now is COVID impacting the NTA in being able to carry out its mandates?
Well, for one, I can tell you that we are in the process of restructuring the organization, and we have been trying to do that for a little while now. Because as anything else, we have our little problems in between to make sure that we put our house in order. We have to get our account audited and so on. So all these things takes time. So hopefully in the months ahead, we will come out in public and let them know exactly what is happening. But for now, we putting things in place to make sure that we all rolling when it comes to the app, because as anything else, that's something that we have been waiting for the longest while. So we're going to go ahead with putting out our campaign to let the public know exactly what their rights are, what is in the law, and like we said earlier, qui sa tout moun ni yon morceau pour ajouter dans sa fait là. Yon ni pour ça savent c'est yon responsable, yon ni responsabilité pour ça yon fait tout. C'est pas ou aller acheter un bagage ou pas ou même pas regarder comment y ba là si yon ka mucho comment y ka opposer, because avec bagage en jouer. A blind man should not go game because he cannot see. It depends, although they have blind cricket and they make allowances for them to head a ball and so on. But then, I mean, speaking, people must understand you have your rights and the business owner have a right too. So let us strike the balance. So in the months ahead, we'll do our best, like the former president said, that we're going to put things in place to roll out the public campaign so that people would know and follow us. So gradually, we bring you into the standing page by page where we are. Because one problem for years that people in St. Lucia have been suffering with is that sometimes you buy something on hire purchase certain areas, and then you have paid 3/4 of the merchandise, and then they come and they repossess it and nothing for that, which is unfair. So therefore, all these things will be addressed or is part of the bill so that the people will know their rights and it should not be trampled upon.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And let me thank you, gentlemen. I do have a question coming in, though, very quickly from our platform. And someone was asking about, since you mentioned the financial institutions, that going to do an exchange for a foreign currency, and perhaps you see on the billboard that the exchange rate is X, but when you go to do that transaction, you're finding that you're receiving less. than what the exchange rate said or on the display on the billboard. So the individual wants to know what can be done in cases like that, and is this false advertising on the part of the institutions?
The client must make sure they understand. Remember, on the billboard has the buying and the selling rates of these foreign currencies. Now, if I just follow on one to look at the other one, you may have the problem that was asking there. If you're sure that what you see on the board is correct, you have the right to question the bank and ask why it is when you're advertising that.
Right.
Because the bank is to pay you out what they advertise on the billboard, what you see there. It's just like we had a problem with a supermarket, Paris market, of course. The person called from overseas and asked if they had the product in solution. The supermarket said yes. What's the price? The owner gave the person the price. The solution person who had to purchase for the person called and asked, tell him yes. They went to the supermarket. The price they gave her is on the shelf. When it went to the cashier, what was in the cashier on the cash register was way off what was in the shelf. The person said no. And the person wanted to play around and so I called the person on the shelf and said, what? So you cannot do that. The person is to buy the person called from England. You give the person the price is correct. What you have on the shelf is correct. You know, cash register have something different. Whatever. I said, no. No matter what change you make, whatever you have advertised on the shelf, that's what the person must pay for it. And that's what they will get. So
whatever that displayed price that's one.
But you can't tell me you have an price in the cash register, expect the client to know that. How would they know that? Just like what they see on the shelf. So the same way when you go to the bank, you must ensure what you see on the billboard, although the rate changes very rapidly. Sometimes you go in the morning and by the time we have it's a different rate because the stock market is operating differently. So you need to understand these things, these little things you must look for. But if the person is correct, what they saw, that's what the bank has to do. They can give something different.
All right, we are so guided. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for being able to come and just have this initial discussion with us on the Consumer Protection Act. And certainly it is one, as you indicated, that the organization has been waiting for decades now, in the range of 24 years waiting on that change for consumers in St. Lucia. So we've been speaking there with Hubert James, who is the former president for the National Consumers Association, as well as Maris Modest, who is the Public Relations Officer. Stay with us. On the other side of we'll be talking COVID.
Toucher bouchou, pas toucher zio, oueste caillou, ma wepio, protecte famille, quand ça caille trop, ou pas katan, police caille bao.
Couvre bouchou avant pousser, avant oueste ek mouché, lavez les mots ek charoublé, oueste caillou soufflé soufflé, comment c'est moi qui t'ai oisé, avec quoi mon oueste papier, toi qu'est-ce que nous capoté, corona caille yo coup de pied.
C'est le mot, hey, pas toucher zio. Pas toucher bouchou et try pas toucher no. Social distance, 6 feet minimum. For more information, just dial 311.
What's the book are you? Please stay at your home. Coronavirus Cafinico Al Capone. Can't what take or should even give you diarrhea. Practice good hygiene, corona can't disappear. And to fire some, but virus la. But virus la. But virus la. And to fire some.
Production.
Better yet, use soap and water. We
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are up. No, no.
Advice is you to please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat the corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Are you looking to broaden your career opportunities? Future-proof your career with a bachelor's degree from the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. We've introduced new cutting-edge degree programs in environmental studies and sustainability, tourism and hospitality, business administration, and public health. Online platforms are making it easier than ever before to further your education and mask your competitive advantage. This is the game changer you've been waiting for. Get the highest return on your investment in the OECS from the college you trust. Visit salcc.edu.lc. Apply today for September 2021.
Sons and all the daughters, the island now St. Lucia. The place that full of culture, beautiful people, good character. Big mountains with your adventure, driving volcano, you feel you can enter. Natural resources, place to remember. Right banana, cause I'm a jelly water. No man is your let I go. Nobody can tell me what I know. Could I England go need a Tokyo? No place like Lucia, no, no, no. St. Lucia, my little chacalisco. Number one on me list now. Even when your own people them hit you, I will never forsake you. Sons and all the daughters, the island now St. Lucia. The place that full of culture.
And thank you so much for staying with us as we say goodbye to the members there for the National Consumers Association. We'll be discussing the Consumer Protection Amendment Act, and we're certainly very happy that the NC, after some 24 years, been able to see this thing come through fruition, and the act is to be to the benefit of all St. Lucians, the consumer, you as a consumer, but also the business establishments as well. We'll be having much more for you on what is in the Consumer Protection Amendment Act along the way. Now, COVID-19, Hilma, COVID-19, and to get into more somber mode right now, we had 103 new cases, and astoundingly, 18 recorded deaths within a 6-day period. It was September 14 to September 19. This is very, very heartbreaking. The Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste, alongside the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belma-George, and Dr. Alicia Eugene Ford, who is the Director over at the Respiratory Hospital, they delivered some statements addressing some of the key issues pertaining to the COVID-19 situation where we're at right now and what those protocols will be with effect from today and moving in for the next week. So let's hear that.
Greetings to you. My name is Moses, Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Sharon Belma-George, our Chief Medical Officer, and also the Medical Director at the Victoria Hospital, Dr. Eugene Ford. We will be discussing the COVID-19 situation in St. Lucia and the extension of the protocols until September 30th. I now invite Dr. Sharon Belma-George to speak with you on the COVID-19 situation here in St. Lucia.
The Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs continues to manage the fourth wave in country. From July 25th to September 19th, we note 5,077 cases at an average of 89 cases per day. During that period, we note 58 COVID-19 deaths with a case fatality rate of 1.1%. Females account for 52% of the deaths. The average age of the deaths is 66 years. At present, we have 2,181 active cases in country. The daily infection rate for the past week was 47.9 per 100,000 per day at an average of 86.9 cases per day. In relation to this new wave, 5,077 persons were positive, 51% in the age group 25 to 49 years, 58% of the cases are female. The majority of the cases are from Castries, Rosalie, Vieux Fort, and Babonneau. Based on contact tracing data, the majority of the cases diagnosed are related to workplaces and spread between families. From the review of the epidemiological curve, we are at a plateau at this point, and we note reduced transmission rate. To date, from the positive cases diagnosed in country, less than 2% have been fully vaccinated. 98% of the COVID-19 deaths and COVID-19 related deaths at the respiratory hospital were unvaccinated. The 2% of the deaths who were fully vaccinated had other serious underlying health conditions which contributed to their demise. Today we report 1 COVID-19 related death and 17 COVID-19 deaths which occurred during the period September 14th to the 19th, 2021. All of these reported cases were unvaccinated, and the majority are from Castries and Vieux Fort. 10 of these are male and 8 are female. St. Lucia is working with the Caribbean Public Health Agency to improve the health and safety of citizens and visitors. The Regional Tourism and Health Program was officially launched on Saturday, September 18th, 2021. This innovative program, executed by the Caribbean Public Health Agency, aims to enhance the health and well-being of visitors and locals by strengthening the surveillance system to pick up infectious diseases, and also capacity building and certification for all of the tourism-related activities. This will reduce the negative impact of the industry in a sustainable way. A full schedule of activities is planned between the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Tourism, the various stakeholders, and is coordinated by the Caribbean Public Health Agency. We continue to ask the public to work with us and exhibit responsible behavior to manage this fourth wave. Let us all take personal responsibility to keep ourselves and our families safe. At present, we have available both the Pfizer and the AstraZeneca vaccine free of charge in country at the various wellness centers and sites. These vaccines have been proven to be safe and effective in protecting persons from developing COVID-19, its severe forms, complications, and hospitalizations and death. With the high level of community spread noted in country at this point, we continue to advise the public to remain vigilant, adhere to the protocols that have been put in place to keep us safe. These include regular hand washing, the use of face masks in public places, avoiding crowds and persons with respiratory symptoms, and keeping frequently touched surfaces clean. At this point, I will hand over to the Medical Director of the Victoria Hospital to give us an update on the present situation.
Thank you, CMO. The respiratory hospital has a bed capacity of 123, which can be ramped up to 127. Since we started vaccination from February 1st, 2021 to September 20th, 2021, we have had 1,623 admissions, out of which 23 were fully vaccinated and 34 with first dose. It must be highlighted that the majority of the vaccinated patients had milder symptoms when compared to the unvaccinated patients. From June, we had 136 admissions. In July and August, we had 142 and 261 admissions, respectively. As of September 20th, 2021, we have had 234 patients, a total of 773 admissions. Some of the main challenges at the respiratory hospital are lack of specialty human resource, physicians such as ICU and A&E specialists, nurses such as ICU and nephrology services. We have recruited staff through the Cuban bilateral agreement, as well as requested through diplomatic channels such as the Embassy of France. A second challenge is technological and communication issues. Flow is currently upgrading the telecommunication system. We have enhanced internal and external communication between administration, clinical team, and patients' families. A third challenge is increased patient flow in the accident and emergency department. But we have received additional support, extending to an annex with a 7-bed capacity. We also have another challenge with increased demand for medical gases. We have a semi-automated system which feeds ICU and our high dependency unit. We have dedicated teams assigned to manage and monitor the medical gas system, and regular training and debriefing, forecasting of the medical gas system consumption. Another challenge for us is the staff burnout and stress. So we do have counseling and debriefing services, empowerment and motivation from management, and a more conducive working environment with a staff lounge with tea corners and staff meals. The management of the Victoria Hospital wishes to remind the general public to adhere to the recommended protocols and to vaccinate. These measures have scientifically proven to save and protect lives. Let us do our part to combat this pandemic. Si nous travaillons ensemble, nous ça sauver la vie yon a lot. I hand over to Honorable Minister Moses Baptiste.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eugene. My fellow St. Lucians, the government of St. Lucia recognizes the efforts of all who are adhering to the COVID-19 protocols. We acknowledge the sacrifices which everyone has had to make over the last few weeks to prioritize health and safety. I extend heartfelt condolences to the families of all those who have passed away as a result of COVID-19 or COVID-19 related illness. It is a difficult time for you, and may God grant you and your families strength and peace. At this stage, we note the overall reduction in the transmission rate. But as the medical professionals have explained, we are still at a critical phase, and we cannot let our guard down. We must ensure that we continue to bring down the transmission rate. After discussions and dialogue with the members of the COVID-19 Management Center, the decision was made to extend the COVID-19 protocols currently in place until the end of September. We hope by that time, amended protocols will include benefits for fully vaccinated individuals. The government continues to urge you to get vaccinated and will intensify our efforts to make the vaccine available to you in the best way possible. The extended protocols shall commence on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021, and end on Thursday, September 30th, 2021. The COVID-19 protocols are the same as the last 2 weeks. As a reminder, the protocols are as follows. 1. Curfew will be in effect Monday to Friday from 7 p.m. and ends at 4 a.m. Saturday curfews start at 4 p.m. and end on Monday at 4 a.m. This means that there will be a 24-hour curfew on Sunday. 2. Suspension of the sale and disposal of intoxicating liquor at bars, rum shops, and restaurants. 3. Sale and disposal of intoxicating liquor from supermarkets, gas stations, or wholesaler with a valid liquor license will be permitted. Of course, there shall be no consumption of intoxicating liquor on the premises. 4. The suspension of dining services at restaurants and food establishments. Takeaway, or what we call grab and go, and delivery services will be permitted. 5, recreational and social activities at hotels will be permitted on property during the curfew hours, provided that such activities take place on the property. Water sports and other activities, other water-related activities, such as boat rides, skiing, etc., must be suspended during the 24-hour weekend curfew, meaning from Saturday 4 p.m. to Monday 4 a.m. During this period, the government of St. Lucia will continue to meet with stakeholders and the newly reconstituted COVID-19 Management Center to review these protocols and to provide further updates on the protocols. Let us all continue adhering to the protocols to reduce the transmission of the COVID-19 virus and return to some level of normalcy. I thank you for viewing. I thank Dr. Sharon Belma George, our Chief Medical Officer, for being here with today. And also, I wish to thank Dr. Ford for being here with us today, the Medical Director of the Victoria Hospital. I thank you very much. Please stay safe, follow the protocols, and let us combat COVID-19 together.
Update there from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs. And so that brings us to the end of today's show. We want to, of course, thank all of you who joined us today. Today is the 22nd of September 2021, and everything remaining the same, God willing, we're going to be here with you tomorrow. So be sure to stick with us. The morning update on the National Television Network, channel 122. On Facebook and YouTube, the Government Information Service page. So thanks so much once again for joining us, and we do wish you a very, very Wednesday. Lucia and Huma saying goodbye.
Bye.